One of the things that set Lionel apart from the dry and humorless world of scale model railroading is whimsical operating and animated railroad cars. These are toys, some of which are inspired by real-life railroad operations, but are designed mainly to provide action and play value. Why? Because it's fun. As much as the Santa Fe F3 or ZW Transformer, the operating milk car is an iconic Lionel product, a staple piece that can be found on virtually every layout and in every collection. Several variations have been produced over the years and, for the most part, they offer reliable and entertaining operation. The car is pulled up to a platform, and an operating track section activates the car. A worker holding a dolly pops through the swinging double doors and delivers a can of milk. The cans are loaded through a hatch in the roof. They slide down a chute where they wait to be individually pushed out the doors. Sometimes they get jammed in the mechanism, which Lionel occasionally tried to modify to improve operation. The milk cans are designed to stick to the metal platform with tiny magnets stuck in the underside. But if they shoot out the door too fast, they end up on their sides. The early cars are similar to the 2454 type boxcar. In 1953, many new, larger freight cars were introduced to better match some of the larger locomotives being made. The 3662 milk car was first produced in 1955. This car was about the same length as a 6464 boxcar. It was modeled after the more modern refrigerator cars of the time. The operation was the same as the earlier milk cars. A collectible 3672 version was made in 1959 with Bosco decoration. It was a colorful yellow car that came with a matching yellow and brown platform. Even the milk cans were yellow and had Bosco printed on them. Lionel's vibrotor technology is used on the 3656 cattle car. When activated, doors on the car flip open as bridge platforms on the corral flip down towards the car. The cattle move from the vibrotor and are channeled around the corral from one end to the other. They enter the car, which also has a vibrotor mechanism, pass through it, and exit the car back into the corral. The overall design works better in theory. Cattle passing between the car and corral often get hung up on various edges or gaps. But when it works, it provides memorable play value. There are 4 collectible variations. Earliest versions, made in 1949 only, have black lettering with an armor sticker on the center doors and a wide entrance runway. Later, the lettering was changed to white. The armor sticker was later omitted, but the lettering remained white, and the entrance runway was made narrower. Very few of the later versions once again came with black lettering. The 2 black lettered versions are the most collectible. Early versions of the corral have a yellow painted platform. Most corrals have an unpainted platform. The early corrals have orange gates, and the later corrals have yellow gates. Second only to the milk car in sales, the cattle car and corral is a staple classic from the post-war era. The 3356 horse car is a modified version of the cattle car. The corral is simplified and made of plastic. The car is larger, and the operation is essentially the same. So are the problems. The 3356 horse car is green and lettered with a Santa Fe road name. The 3366 circus horse car is white with red lettering. While action and animated cars were staples of the post-war and modern eras, The pre-war era also introduced play value into their freight cars. The 3814 merchandise car was first made in 1939. Small boxes were inserted through an opening in the roof covered by a hatch. When the car was activated, the side door would automatically open, and a box would come shooting out as if it were tossed out by a worker. After several boxes were tossed out, the door would automatically close. In 1946, the pre-war semi-scale boxcar was modified to incorporate the merchandise car mechanism. Because the car was scale length, an extra set of connector shoes were installed in the trucks to ensure connection on an operating track section. The operation was the same. It is one of the more valuable freight cars of the post-war era. Lionel also introduced a smaller-sized merchandise car in 1946. The 3454 car was based on the 2454 boxcar design. When it works, it provides good action. It has become one of the more forgotten action cars made by Lionel, and it's one of the few never remade in the modern era. Beginning in 1949, Lionel produced operating boxcars. The established boxcar design incorporated a modified base with a mechanical trip. These cars had to be used with the magnetic uncoupling track section. When activated, the plunger located in the center of the car was pulled down by the electromagnet in the uncoupling track section. This released a spring mechanism that simultaneously slid the car door open, and a brakeman figure moved forward to stand in the opening. Two types of operating boxcars were made. The first versions were numbered either 3464 or 3474. The later versions were introduced in 1953 and were based on the popular 6464 boxcars. The first versions are numbered 3484. After that, they were numbered 3494. As was the case with the 6464 cars, various road names were assigned extra catalog numbers, such as this 3494-275 State of Maine car. Rare variations on the 3494 operating boxcars include a Monon car with an overstamped factory error and the Sioux Line car. A variation of the 3494 type operating boxcar design was used to create the 3428 United States mail car in 1959. A new pliable figure was modeled after a mailman. A small magnet was placed in the center of the figure. A small bag of mail with a tiny piece of metal was stuck to the mailman. When the car was activated, the momentum of the mailman moving forward was enough to shoot the bag of mail from him, as if he were tossing it out. Yet another modification to the operating boxcar was used to create the 3434 poultry dispatch car. The car body design was modeled after a poultry stock car. Translucent strips of acetate with depictions of chickens and roosters printed on them lined the sides. The interior was illuminated. The operating boxcar mechanism now included a hairline spring that created a back and forth motion to the figure holding a broom. When the car was activated, the door swung open and the worker looked as if he were sweeping out the car. We'll look at many other action and animated cars in Lionel Nation Part 7.
The Lone Ranger was a popular radio show. Then it became a TV show. It was first broadcast in 1933. It told the story of 6 Texas Rangers who were ambushed in Bryant's Gap by the ruthless Bush Cavendish Gang. The Cavendish Gang had the high ground, and gunned down all 6 Rangers. Thinking all 6 were dead, the gang left. 1 Ranger clinging to life. Tonto, an Indian, happened by. He saw one of the Rangers was still alive and nursed him back to health. Tonto helped the Ranger because he was wearing a silver ring. Years before, a Texas Ranger came upon Tonto, who had been shot by a group of renegade Indians. The Ranger tended to Tonto's wound and saved Tonto's life. To say thanks, Tonto gave the Ranger a silver ring. Seeing that same ring on the dying Ranger's finger gave Tonto the opportunity to repay the Ranger. Tonto's horse was named Scout. They found a pure white wild stallion who was injured by a lightning strike. They nursed the great horse back to health, and he became the Ranger's horse, Silver. The Ranger cut out a mask from the shirt of one of his fallen comrades, and since he was the only Ranger to survive the ambush, he became the Lone Ranger.
I'll Silver! Boy!
Tonto called the Lone Ranger Kimosabi, which means trusted friend. They rode the West together, fighting crime and injustice wherever they found it.
Fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and the hardy Iowa Silver, the Lone Ranger.